Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you here to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway as it plays host to race number 10 of Season 3 of the Dark Horse IndyCar Series presented by HyperX. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Michael Norman. And Michael, obviously here in the IndyCars, they don't have any playoffs, or as people call it, the chase, but there definitely is a chase afoot. Everybody's chasing after Robert Maleska III.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very hard race for them to do because second place is 134 points out of the lead, but for everywhere else on back, the spots that are ahead of them are easily obtainable. So one mistake out of any of these drivers could lead to falling far back in the points.
Talk about that points gap, and that's just from first to second place. There's a lot of drivers that are still in the conversation if they can finish out the home stretch with wins or at least decent finishes, and Maleska III running into some issues. One driver that's trying to do that is the defending champion, five-time winner last season, only one victory so far this year, and that's Nick DeGroot. Now, DeGroot currently, as we still have a little more than 3 minutes to go in qualifying, he is on the pole position. So I would say that including here tonight, with 9 races left on the schedule, it's go time for him now if he's going to win back-to-back championships.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got to get up there. He's got to get up there fast. He was struggling last week at Worldwide Technology Raceway, but here he is on the pole tonight, and he's looking to take advantage of that big time.
So Las Vegas, as we know, it's going to be under the lights. It's going to be a lot of grip available to these drivers. And one thing that we noticed in practice as well, we can expect maybe a little bit more towards the midway portion of this race. It is going to be a multi-groove racetrack. You're going to see drivers migrating up to that second and third line. And of course, we know when you move up to those lines, you get clean air to the nose. So should be in for some good side-by-side racing from the front all the way to the back of the field.
Oh yeah, it's just kind of like a stock car or super speedway race for these Indy cars here. You're gonna see them try to run the outside lane. Now, at first, the outside lane may not come into play, but the more they run up there, the more they'll rubber in the outside lane, and it could become a factor late in the race.
Robert Maleska III is a 5-time winner now after picking up his 3rd straight victory last week at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Coming into tonight, however, of his 5 wins, only one of them at a mile and a half. That was at Texas Motor Speedway. Currently, he is scheduled to roll off from the 3rd position should somebody snipe a spot on the podium in these final few minutes of this qualifying session. So if you're Robert Maleska III, what's the mentality now? Because as we said, triple digits, he is ahead of second place in points. So is it now about consistency, or is there enough of a points gap you can kind of be risky and make some overly aggressive moves to try and pick up win number 6, 4th straight win?
I mean, he has such enough of a gap that he could really try anything to win. He's got nothing to lose in this race, especially after winning last week. I mean, he can be as gutsy as he wants this race, and he's always gutsy. If you watched him at Worldwide Technology Raceway, he was led a lot of the laps, and when he fell back, he was back up to the front in almost no time. So he is very gutsy, and I don't see anything changing here tonight.
Another thing that could play a factor into that as well is next week we're going to our 3rd road course race of the season at Watkins Glen, and so far Robert Maleska III is a perfect 2 for 2 in the road courses this season in going to victory lane. Qualifying nearly coming to a close right now. Looks like our front row going to be Nick DeGroot on point. That has not changed, and Jimmy Drynan right now is posted in the 2nd position. If that holds, it will be the highest starting qualifying effort for that 94 car, and that's another thing that we're going to have to keep an eye on here as well. You talked about this almost being kind of like a super speedway type race with these Indy cars, and we know at the super speedways, doesn't matter what kind of a car it is, usually you have some of those sleeper drivers that normally aren't up at the front sneaking out top 5s, top 10s, and even on occasion wins. So can we expect to see that here tonight?
I wouldn't put it past any of these drivers. Like you said, anybody who starts their engine here today has a shot at winning. Now, as we said, with this being like a super speedway, Seth, these drivers will be all over 3 wide, maybe even some more than 2 wide. But these cars cannot go below the white line. I believe that was what was said in the drivers' meeting. So, with the very limited space in the racetrack, you got to watch out for the possible big one. And that could strike very, very quickly and without notice.
Yeah, definitely these cars entirely different to normal block-like stock cars where you're able to line up the front and back bumper. These cars technically don't have any bumpers. They got the front wing and then they've got the engine exposed in the back of the car underneath the rear wing. So you're right. It'll be very interesting to see how well they decide to test the waters of the space between them if they are in close pack racing as these drivers now getting set to grid up for tonight's event. 120 laps this evening, 180 miles on tap for these drivers. And of course, as well, this is going to be their final speedway race before heading into another road course at Watkins Glen next week. So those drivers that don't seem to fare so well at the road courses might consider this a track that they would have a better chance of going to victory lane as we take a look at the starting lineup for tonight's event and a couple of other names that kind of pop out here towards the top of the starting lineup. Dylan Moskowitz rolling off from the fourth position. Of course, it was a twisted Trojan 1-2 finish last week at Worldwide Technology Raceway. And Matt Wagner starting up there in that fifth position. There's a couple of drivers that really struggled last week. Wagner would be one of them.
Absolutely, and the guy that's sitting second in points now, the new second place driver, which was Alex Vandersent, he qualified back in the 22nd position. So, he's going to have a struggle this race to get up through the pack and up towards the front.
All right, let's talk about another aspect of super speedway racing. A lot of times we'll bring up the moniker, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. Does that apply here tonight in the case of the 317?
I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. This will be the first time I've actually seen IndyCars race at Las Vegas, so it could very well be a crapshoot, if you will, like you could see in the Las Vegas casinos.
Also have to wait and see if maybe, just maybe here tonight, pit road is going to play a part into who's going to end up making it to the start-finish line first and who is not. Of course, these drivers run with a limited fuel cell, and based off of previous tracks at mile and a half configuration, my assumption is that it's going to be anywhere between 30 to 40 laps these drivers can go. Probably about the max would be 40 laps they could go on a tank of fuel. So let's say that we run green from here to the finish. That is at least 2 pit stops these drivers are going to have to make here tonight.
Yep, and just like we've seen at any other super speedway style track, you never know what's going to happen and if they're going to be under green, under yellow, or just how fast the pit stop's going to be. Because the longer you're on pit road, the more spots you can lose on the racetrack. Not to mention having to go from 200 something miles per hour down to pit road speed.
Show to your starting lineup here tonight, courtesy of Lionheart Racing. The Lionheart Racing Series working closely with Dark Horse Racing, providing setups for the 2021 season. Find out more at LionheartRacingSeries.com. Lights out on the pace car, the new Ford pace car here in the iRacing Sim, and
he's going to make that looks pretty cool.
It's a beautiful pace car that was just released this week, and it's going to turn to the pit lane and turn this field loose as Nick DeGroot's going to lead us down. And let's see who's going to have the gamble here tonight in Sin City. We're racing at Las Vegas.
Good start by Nick DeGroot, but like we said before, if this being a super speedway, you don't want to get that big of a lead because the draft will swallow you back up whole.
Robert Maleska III made quick work for second place. Now he jumps to the top side for the race lead. It'll be interesting to see how quickly it's going to be for that outside line to actually come in. We're not expecting to see it get the advantage off the corner just yet. We got to rubber that up a little bit, but look at the run some of these guys are getting there. Wagner as well as Dylan Moskowitz, they all got a huge run from 4 down the front straightaway.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're going to see a lot of that tonight. The outside lane doesn't quite get the run off the corner yet, but it does get good side drafting on the outside lane. Now, DeGroot able to clear second place right now, but the question is, how better of a run can he get? And now, when it comes to wearing out the tires, is the inside line wear the tires out more, or do you think the outside not being rubbered up will?
Oh, I'm not really certain, to tell you the truth. I would assume that the inside line, at least for that right front, it's going to heat up the tires even more. Outside line, like we see Matt Wagner running, I don't think it would be quite as abrasive, but to your point, with there not being so much rubber laid up there, it could actually be wearing down those tires more so with the fact that they're actually getting that rubber off the tire into the racetrack to be able to get that extra grip. And we're seeing drivers even all the way up to the wall. I think I saw Josh Garner and David Leclerc back there. Actually, one car was into the wall. I think that was Covey Moore. So you got to be careful you don't overstep that cushion on the top side.
Absolutely. This race is going to come down to who can turn the steering wheel the least amount. And by that, I mean you got to have a smooth run into the corner so you're not bumping and losing and brushing off speed. Seth, you know this all too well, Mr. I can really do good at qualifying on super speedways back there. It's all going to come down to just the amount of movement from the steering wheel.
Yeah, and we're going to take a look here exactly what you're talking about. Riding on board with the 99 of Matt Wagner as he watched this battle for the lead. Wagner, the highest one up in the field, that has gone to the third lane. He's actually going to go up there again, it looks like, on the entry to turn 1. And slowly we're starting to see that middle and outside groove get a little bit of a run through the center of the corner off. And that's just going to get better and better the longer they stay up there.
I'm noticing he's staying in 5th gear. These Indy cars have a 6th gear. Question is, do you think they're getting that fast, or do you think that the setup just has it as a 5th gear setup?
Well, the thing of it is, too, a lot of times in the speedways, the Indy cars, when they shift to a 6th gear, it actually is a drafting gear. Not really sure that they need it here at Las Vegas. If they stay in the 5th gear, it's going to allow them better exit off the corner and better straightaway speed, which I think is translating to why Robert Maliska III is able to get such a big run to the outside line. So I think they're not really relying on that draft gear right now, which says to me, none of these guys are in fuel-safe mode. It is all-out go time for these guys.
Something we're seeing out of Matt Wagner right now too. He can get a good run going into the corner, but he ends up losing it by middle to exit because the very outside lane isn't quite rubbered in yet, and it loses all of his momentum.
Talked about a couple of drivers that probably don't run up at the front regularly, that with the way that the pack racing is here at Las Vegas, could be some sleepers, and a few of them are about to crack the top 5. AJ Musselman actually just moved into the 5th position, and Michael Spell in the 88 back there as well. I think we've had a driver with an incident, Victor Santos in the 24, off the pace heading down the back straightaway and into turn 3.
Absolutely, we're going to go back and look at it again.
Not sure if maybe he just got out of shape, but no caution for him.
Or they were looking at it now. He's coming up, and oh, I see what happened. The 7 of Gary Corley actually clipped the back of him when he tried to move up to the outside lane there. So a little bit of miscommunication there, and sent Victor around a couple of times down the back straightaway, but did not bring out a caution flag.
Tough there, tough. Wow, that's great. Good job, me. Tough break there for Victor Santos, 4th in the point stands. Another driver's had an issue. The 317 of Van de Son. No, I'm sorry, that's Michael Spell. He's got the whole front end gone off his race car up there. Turn 4, and he just got clobbered by another driver. Caution's going to fly. That, I believe, was Joe McAdory in the 4 that nailed him.
Ooh, that is not good. I'm trying to find it right here.
I think the contact might have been between Alex Van de Son and Michael Spell. Spell had the whole front end gone. He tried to bring it down across traffic to pit road. There was nowhere for Joe McAdory to go. We'll go back and see what the initial contact was, but it definitely started with the 88.
I saw what happened. Michael Spell, they were almost 3 wide back there. Michael Spell went to turn into the corner and clipped the back bumper, or I can't say the back bumper, the back part of another car, and he overcorrected it up hard into the outside wall, collecting a couple of others as well.
I believe that was the 94 of Josh Drynan that was to his left, and the blue and yellow car on the outside, I think, was the 12 of Josh Garner. Oh my goodness, I don't know who that was. Might have been Jeffrey Duncan that drove underneath the flipping 88, but a tough break there for Joe McAdory, who had absolutely nowhere to go, and we're going to see if indeed it was Jeffrey Duncan. No, it was not. It was actually Todd Schneider that we're going to take the onboard with, and boy, I think we need to check the heart rate on that driver because he got a bird's eye view of a flying 88 car.
Oh yeah, it's never fun seeing a car flying in front of you. I've seen that way too many times, and it is absolutely not fun.
And the thing that I love about it, too, with this onboard, you just see he was constantly driving the car. I guarantee you he was keeping an eye on the potential landing spot of that 88 car, but you saw his hands were constantly working the wheel just in case he was able to sneak through, which indeed he was. And we got some drivers coming down pit road here, Michael.
DeGroot was the first off pit road I just saw, but a couple of others stayed out, including Robert Milecka. He's going to be our race leader right now.
Top 9 deciding to stay out, along with Matt Wagner, Dylan Moskowitz, AJ Musselman, AJ Hobson, then Covey Moore, Jimmy Drynan, and Gary Corley, Benjamin Combs, the last of those that stayed out. So DeGroot will restart in 10th. And Craig Forsyth, another driver that struggled last week, lost a couple of spots in the standings, dropping from 8th to 10th. He's going to line up 11th with Nicholas Winook, Josh Garner, and Gail Brooks, completing the rest of the top 15, with Alex Van de Sant actually completing that top 15. It looks like Michael Spell is going to be back on track 3 laps down, at least when he comes back. Same for Joe McAdory. He's right now 2 laps down. And Charles Teed has fallen a lap down in the 5 machine. I didn't see him get involved in an incident, but he lost a lap somewhere in the last 10 laps or so.
Yeah, I want to say maybe he started on pit road. I'm not too sure. Yeah, because he's still sitting on pit road right now in the number 4. And Charles Teed, I'm not sure what I think he was part of the accident. I think he was the one that was bounced into, kind of like ricocheted off the wall a little bit as part of that accident.
All right, then he would have been the one that I misidentified as Josh Garner then. So that would make sense, getting that damage to the right rear, having to repair it. So obviously he's hoping for another caution to come out. He would then be the recipient of the free pass, as 24 drivers will be on the lead lap when we go back green. Still waiting on that Ford pace car to give us the 1 to green signal. Robert Milecka III right now has been able to stay up towards the front, but he was battling at the time with Nick DeGroot. DeGroot decides to come to pit lane, and this is interesting strategy on the part of Nick DeGroot, because he gave up some pretty good track position.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure what the strategy was there. I guess maybe some fresher tires. But or better yet, maybe he could have came down pit road. He said, we're early in the race still. We got a long ways to go, almost 100 laps. Why not come in and see just how much my tires have worn out during that first little stint there? So that could be him trying to figure out what kind of tire strategy he could be a part of.
And we'll have to see how long it's going to take for him to work his way potentially back up to the front of the field. These drivers here tonight, we don't have the statistics for season 1, but these drivers actually did not run Las Vegas last year. So for many of them, it may be their first start at Las Vegas in an IndyCar in the Dark Horse IndyCar Series. We have gotten the 1 to green signal. And based off what we saw there in those first 13, 14 laps, Michael, it's looking like these drivers, they are obviously willing to race hard, but I saw a lot of space and a lot of give and take there in the early stages.
Yeah, these drivers are trying to race a little more cleaner. They've got about a wide enough racetrack to take it 3 wide, but they want to. It's all about the draft, and that's what kind of makes these races dangerous, because you can pull up and suck up to the car in front of you, and just not really. And you want to take the run, but that it's too early. They don't want to do it, but then you also run the risk of the person behind you running into you if you have to back off. So that's what makes these cars kind of run just all over the place.
AJ Hobson, keep an eye on him. He actually was really strong at the end of last season. He's now actually been picking up spots in the standings last couple of weeks. Finished top 5 last week at Worldwide Technology. Finds himself 14th in the standings, and he rolls off from the 5th position in that bright green machine right behind AJ Musselman. Careful with the stack up, guys. Green flags in the air, and Jimmy Drynan ran into the back of, I think that was Gary Corley. We nearly had ourselves an immediate yellow at the flying of the green flag, and the guy that capitalized was Nick DeGroot. He just passed 3 cars because of that.
Yep, we've seen a stack up happen last week at Worldwide Technology, so they're trying not to have the same thing happen again. That's kind of the thing with single file restarts, is you can't really pass so until you reach that finish line. So if one car doesn't get going, then you have to slam on the brakes, and everybody else behind you won't see it till the last second, and then it's just pandemonium.
It has completely put a gap between the top 6 back to 7th place, which is Nick DeGroot, as Matt Wagner taking a look to the outside of Robert Mileska III. And yeah, when the pace car hits pit road, the restart is in the hands of the driver P1, in this case Robert Mileska III on that restart, and everybody trying to anticipate when he's going to go that leads to that stack up, and I'm wondering how that's going to affect Jimmy Drynan, because he's the one that made the contact with the front end of his machine.
We got one car back here on the very outside lane wobbling around. I don't quite know who that is. It could be
Corley?
I think it's the
coming to pit
94.
road.
I think it could be the 94. He was real squirrely, as we do have a car coming to pit road there.
Well, that would make sense, because Jimmy Drynan was the one that hit the back of Gary Corley under that restart stack up. So the Drynan dropping and Corley coming to pit lane, tough break for the both of those drivers. And again, we're going to be going back to a lot of the aspects of super speedway racing, and another aspect of that is you have to have a pristine race car to get the maximum draft, the maximum straightaway speed, and right now with that damage to the front wing, I just don't think the 94 car has it.
I don't entirely remember for sure, but I'm pretty sure that Las Vegas Motor Speedway has progressive banking. So it actually might, the outside lane may come into play, as we have a 3-4 car battle here for the race lead.
Covey Moore now enters into that 4-way battle you were just describing. Covey's had a very strong season. He's got 5 top 10 finishes, 3 top 5 finishes, and 9th in the point stands, as he just got around Dylan Moskowitz, who's coming off a runner-up finish last week at Worldwide Technology.
Back here. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just going to say, Matt Wagner started out the season with a bang, picking up the victory in the season opener at Auto Club. We've already documented the hard luck he had last week.
That was a block for the lead right there.
And again, we talked about knowing the capabilities of what your race car can do and knowing the parameters of where your race car is. That's something these drivers are going to have to be careful of with that blocking. If they're too close to each other, we could end up having contact made and some of our front runners caught up in a wreck.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I know they said something during the drivers' meeting about blocking, but I'm not sure entirely of what they said. So I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see what's gonna happen here. As right up here, Covey Moore, up here in 3rd place, he got into a bit of trouble earlier. I think he said he might have scraped the wall early on in the race, but here he is up here in the 3rd position trying to battle with these leaders.
If he scraped it, he must not have scraped it too bad. He didn't even come to pit road under our only caution so far to repair any damage, as he's trying to hold off Dylan Moskowitz, AJ Hobson, and AJ Musselman. A battle of the AJs side by side behind them for 5th place, as Matt Wagner continues to try and get that outside line going. And Matt Wagner here tonight is trying to do 2 things. Number 1, he's trying to cut into Robert Mileska III's point lead, but he's also trying to take 2nd in the points back. You talked about Van de Sant after his run last week at Worldwide Technology, now moving up to the runner-up spot. Well, the 2 of them, Van de Sant and Matt Wagner, are only separated by 3 points for 2nd place, and Van de Sant right now mired back in the 9th spot.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing we also have to talk about, Seth, I'm not sure if we mentioned it before, like the super speedways happen, that white line is considered out of bounds for these drivers. They are not allowed to drive their cars below that white line here, so especially in race trim, I was told it's very dangerous in race trim or just altogether not allowed to use it. So that's going to be another thing too. So that white line is going to be our leader's best friend.
Another thing that super speedways have is the more cars you have in a pack, the more speed you're going to produce. Remember that 2.5 seconds that there was between 6th and 7th place? Well, Nick DeGroot leading that 2nd pack. They are now less than half a second off the back bumper of AJ Musselman. So what was a 6-car breakaway is about to add another 7 drivers to it.
Absolutely. They're all in a single file lane back here. So they figured out that single file, and they're running the middle lane, if you notice that too, the middle to high lane. So they're kind of diamonding the corner a little bit, and it's gaining them time, big time on these leaders.
Nick DeGroot was the first driver to hit pit lane under our only caution up to this point, which means that he and the rest of those drivers behind him can probably go another 25 to 30 laps on what they've got in the tank Guys up here towards the front, though, they have not been to pit road since the start of this race. I would say somewhere in the next 13 to 15 laps, they're going to have to start thinking about making the first round of green flag pit stops.
Absolutely. And you see Matt Wagner trying to think of anything, any way he could try to get around the race leader right now. You know he wants the lead.
Wagner is yet to lead a lap here tonight. Nick DeGroot led the first 13 laps. Maleska III has led the rest. Covey Moore also back there waiting to see what Wagner is capable of doing, and I don't know if he would force the issue 3 wide or try and follow the 99 on by the 91. And now we're going to drop back here to the battle for 5th, because here comes Nick DeGroot around the outside of AJ Hobson. He's bringing last year's Indy 500 winner Craig Forsyth along with him.
I think that's the first time tonight that we've seen a pass take place on the outside lane.
I don't think that Nick DeGroot and company took any tires when they came down pit road. I think they just topped off the fuel tank. So we're seeing rather equal tires against each other. So watch out for Nick DeGroot. It was interesting too, because obviously with this package, and as we said, a lot of aspects of super speedway racing, I think that Hobson might have gotten the wall back there off of 2. Actually, that might have been A.J. Musselman in the 54. But another thing is, in practice, it's kind of difficult to be able to tell who's got the strongest car and who doesn't, because a lot of the lap times, draft comes into play. And so I think we're starting to see, just based off the qualifying results, that Nick DeGroot's got himself a pretty fast race car, and he's proving it right now.
Caution flag is out. We have a wreck on the front straightaway here. That is Krista Nelson.
13 of Krista Nelson bringing out our second yellow flag. Been a great season for her, and looks like may have been a solo incident, at least as far as driver spinning. I'm fairly certain there must have been some contact that led to the incident.
Contact with Michael Spell. Just got into the back of her. He was trying to go around on the outside, made his move to the outside a little too late, and just caught the front wing on, I think it might have been her tire or her one of her back fenders.
Michael Spell, who had already been involved in the earlier caution, come down pit road and used his only fast repair, and there you saw that contact. Very lucky there for Krista Nelson, though, because a lot of times we end up having an incident take place in that area of the racetrack, and that car is either going to turn down into the pit wall or it's going to turn up into the outside wall into turn 1. So the fact that she didn't hit anything, very lucky for the 13. I don't think she's necessarily going to have to use a fast repair there either.
I don't think so either, as all these cars come down pit road, look like everybody coming down this time.
So Robert Maleska III leading them all down pit lane. And to your point, I don't see anybody that is staying out here. So everybody's going to be on equal footing as far as the tires underneath them. See if maybe someone will be able to use pit road to get the race lead from Maleska III, and nope. Nowhere close, about 3 car lengths. Maleska's going to get Wagner coming off pit lane.
Very, very close trying to get off pit lane here, and that's just something that is a test to this pit road and these cars. Just fast pit stops and faster drivers.
Looks like we did have one driver that elected to stay out. We'll see if this is going to be just staying out to lead a lap and then coming to pit road, or if he's actually going to lead us to our second restart. That's the 12 of Josh Garner, who would be out there for 22-lap old tires over the rest of the field. The driver that was very happy to see that caution, Charles Teed, gets the lucky dog. So 24 drivers will be on the lead lap when we go back green flag racing. Looks like that 12 car is not planning on coming to pit lane. So this is interesting strategy. And of course, you know, with this being an early caution or second of the night in the first 35 laps, dependent on how quickly Josh Garner falls through the field, if we end up having late race yellows, I'm certain the drivers in the field are going to keep tabs on this 12 car and think about, if he's able to actually stay up there and remain competitive with 20-lap old tires to our fresh Firestones, that might be something we might think about doing in the closing stages of this race.
Absolutely. We saw last week at Worldwide Technology Raceway that old tires and new tires were virtually equal to one another. So maybe it'll be the same way here. I don't know. Maybe that's what Josh Garner is thinking I mean, I guess it really depends. We'll have to wait and see when the restart happens, but this is going to be something that, like you said, all these drivers are going to watch. So who knows? We'll have to wait and see if it pays out for them.
Lights out atop the pace car, so we're going to be going back green flag racing this
Lights are not.
time, I believe.
They are not out on the pace car.
They are not out atop the pace car. Well, we could still give the running order here. Josh Gardner is going to be the leader when we go back green. Robert Mileska III will line up in second. Matt Wagner third. Craig Forsyth, his team was on it on pit road. He's going to be fourth. Covey Moore in fifth with Dylan Moskowitz in sixth. Alex Van Desant, Eric Schaus, Nick DeGroot, and AJ Hobson going to complete the top 10. Bit of a slow stop there for Nick DeGroot, who, when the caution came out, was running in the, I believe, fourth position. He lost 5 spots on pit lane, and looking at the pit stop time, it actually was the amount of time he spent getting down to and leaving his pit stall that lost him those positions on pit lane.
Taking it a little too conservative. When you get a lot of people coming down pit road, it's hard to see where exactly your pit stall is. So that could have been him just trying to take it a little easy, trying to get into his pit stall, making sure he didn't miss it.
Update on a driver that had early issues but had remained on the lead lap. That's the driver that was fourth in points coming tonight, Victor Santos. Right now he is in the 17th position, so we'll see if he'll be able to work his way up into the top 10. Another driver that we haven't really talked about tonight that's also up inside the top 5 in points, Eric Schaus. Just mentioned he's going to be restarting in 8th place. Certainly not the last time I believe we're going to be mentioning his name here this evening, as this time my eyes are correct in seeing that the lights are out atop the pace car, so we'll be turning them loose and going back green flag racing on lap 39, closing in on 80 laps to go.
Something interesting I see is Gary Corley sitting in the second position. Well, he's not actually second. He's, I think, a lap or a couple laps down, and they're not sending him to the rear of the field. So it looks like he's going to be restarting right there in between first and second place.
Yeah, the Indy cars and the IndyCar series run with the integrated lap cars merging with lead lap cars, and so Corley, who is -2 since he came off pit road behind Josh Gardner and in front of Robert Mileska III, that is where he will restart. So we'll see if he's going to be a little bit of a roadblock for second place on back, as Josh Gardner, first time tonight, he's going to be leading them back to the green flag. Up through the gears he goes, and again, a bit of a stack up back there around the 6th position.
Yeah, the race leader brought him down really, really slow, and when you do that, there's always a risk for stack up.
Robert Mileska III, remember, he piloted his way to second place on the initial drop of the green flag from the 3rd place starting spot, so he's very good on the short run and tries to make quick work of the lap machine of Gary Corley. Actually almost pushed up into him there off through 3 and 4.
This is intense. Some intense racing side by side on a restart. Probably the most intense of the racing you'll see is right after restart, Seth, and they're not disappointing at all.
Well, there's your answer. About 20 lap old tires to fresh tires. No contest. Robert Mileska III to the inside of Josh Gardner, and now he's going to try and see if he can start pulling away as the battle for second place is going on. And actually, we're going to drop back here to the group behind them. I think Craig Forsyth ran into an issue in the 27. He has fallen back to the tail end of this group of about 7-8 cars.
Yeah, they're going back and forth on the team radios right now, just talking about it, discussing it. It takes some real drafting, and all this racing back here is allowing the cars in front of them to pull away. We've seen it at like tracks like Daytona and Talladega for stock cars. You know, you get 2-3 wide racing, the cars that are single file will start to pull away because they're not dependent on the air that's being sucked around from around the race cars.
Yeah, let's explain that to race fans that may not necessarily know about the aerodynamics of race cars like this in terms of the draft. With you seeing them side by side right now, you'll see that one car will get a bit of an advantage and edge ahead over the other. The reason for that is they are side drafting, but that's not making the car that pulls ahead faster. That's actually slowing down the other car, pulling them back, and that's why Michael's saying that those drivers up there, those race leaders, are having the opportunity to pull away because they're out there in clean air. Nothing is pulling them back, as opposed to these drivers that are all pack racing from around the 4th position back to about 8th.
Thank you for that Larry Mack explanation there. Well, I'm looking back here at Nick DeGroot. Something just happened to him off of turn 4, and he's just dropping positions right now.
I'm
going to wreck in the back. Wreck in the back, on the back straightaway here. Another caution flag is out. I see Benjamin Combs and Jim Herrick involved in this one.
Boy, Jim Herrick's had a nice couple of runs in the past few weeks. And Benjamin Combs, he's been trying to get his season turned around. Combs is 19th in points. Herrick is 12th in the standings, and a lot of damage sustained at both of those race cars for our third caution of the night. Let's go back to turn 2. There it was, Herrick running somewhat wide on the track there. Oh, someone got the wall up ahead of him. That might have actually been the 77 of Combs, and when he got into the wall, he just never came off of it. That car was super slow, and Jim Herrick was committed to the outside line.
Yep, sometimes there's just no places to go when you're running up there. You're committed to a lane, and when something happens, you're either hitting the brakes to avoid it, or you're going to end up being involved in it.
Just watch how quickly things happen here as we're on board with the 57. You're going to see that blue machine up ahead of him. That's Benjamin Combs. Oh, he got a little loose there coming out of turn 2 up into the wall, and there's just no reaction time for Jim Herrick, plus the fact that he was actually at least double wide, maybe 3 wide there, so there was no way he could turn down the racetrack to avoid, and you see there the suspension problems afterwards. Could not even turn the race car from pounding into the inside wall after the initial contact.
Yep, sometimes there's just nothing you can do but just hold on.
So caution comes out for the third time here tonight, past the third of the way mark. A couple of drivers electing to come down pit road from about the 15th position on back. A couple of those notables, Greg Forsyth and Nick DeGroot. You talked about DeGroot having a bit of an issue there. We know that Forsyth was slow on that restart, so almost wonder if those might be a couple of other drivers that went up and brushed the outside wall with the close quarter racing we've seen. So as Robert Maleska III continues to pace the field here over Josh Garner, that strategy worked out for him, at least for the moment. He's been able to hang on to second. Matt Wagner, Eric Schaus, and Kobe Moore, the top 5. We're going to step aside for a quick commercial break, and then we'll come back here to the action here tonight at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. You won't miss a thing. We're going to go FRN side by side.
It's a road few dare to travel. A journey filled with danger and unpredictability. So why do we traverse this road? Why do we take such a gamble? Because if we don't try, we'll never know what we could have achieved. That's why we strap in, rev up, and fix our focus on the ultimate prize. Because the reward is well worth the risk. The 2021 NNSCRA Daytona 500, Saturday, February 20th, exclusively on Flat Out Racing Network.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
It's a road few dare to travel. A journey filled with danger and unpredictability. So why do we traverse this road? Why do we take such a gamble? Because if we don't try, we'll never know what we could have achieved. That's why we strap in, rev up, and fix our focus on the ultimate prize, because the reward is well worth the risk.
Green flag set to fly yet again here tonight in Season 3, Race 10 of the Dark Horse IndyCar Series presented by HyperX. We are closing in on 50 laps complete at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway as Robert Mileska III about to bring us back to green over Josh Garner, Matt Wagner, Eric Schaus, and Kobe Moore. A couple of new drivers have popped up into the top 10 back there. David Leclerc is now in 9th, Jim Brooks in 10th, and Charles Teed, who got the lucky dog just a couple cautions ago, he's now up in 11th place as the field back under the green flag.
Not a lot of stack up that time, so a much better restart as our leader pulls away for the time being. Now the question is, can Josh Gardner reel him back in?
Josh Garner, of course, as we documented already, 20-lap older tires, but look how the draft comes into play. He's going to get right back onto the bumper of Robert Mileska III, actually gets to the right rear quarter panel. Now we got to start wondering, there were several drivers in the early portions of this race that went up there and ran the second and even the third groove. Has it rubbered in yet?
I'm not too, it might have. It really depends on the run that you get to. Like, you see him, watch, you'll see him go to the outside lane. He could probably pull side by side, but the inside lane still just has the better advantage. As you look at them, they're going 3 wide now.
On board with Matt Wagner, who is going to be on the top side of that 3-wide formation going into turn 1. He'll at least get alongside of Josh Garner for the second position. Behind him, Eric Schaus. I mentioned probably not going to be saying his name for the last time when we talked about him back around lap 25. He's now in the conversation behind Matt Wagner along with Kobe Moore. And here comes second in points, Alex Van de Son.
It's about time. He's worked his way up through the field. And here he is now in the top 6 in this roughly 6-car battle here. He's got a good spot. Now the question is, can he get around these 5 other cars in front of him?
Started 23rd on the field, did Alex Van de Son. Has worked his way now into the top 5, getting around Josh Garner for the 5th position as Matt Wagner again jumps to the outside of Mileska III. Eric Schaus says, you leave the bottom open for me? Thank you very much. He's now going to try and take second place away from the 99.
The outside lane trying to come into play, but the white line right now is your best friend. We're going to see. I thought maybe Matt would cross over. He has a chance to do it now. If he can get to the inside, he could take second place away, but just can't keep it underneath him. I think Matt Wagner is battling a real loose...
car hard on the wall back there. That's Josh Garner in the 12. He's going to keep it straight. I thought he might come back up into traffic. No caution will come out, but I think we can safely say that the tire strategy of staying out under the last 2 cautions, it definitely came back to bite him as he got loose off the second corner, and now he's coming to pit road.
Very, very tough break there for Josh Garner. Oh, and we have a lead change as well. On the back straightaway going into turn 3, Eric Schaus has taken the lead away.
Not sure how he found a lane to the inside of Robert Mileska III, but it is the shorter way around the racetrack, and it is going to put him on point. I was going to mention, I thought the strategy for Robert Mileska here tonight was just going to be not give up the bottom, force those drivers the longer way around the racetrack, but Schaus was able to find a little chink in the armor. Now he's the control driver in the line that he prefers.
Yeah, it looks like we're looking back at the pass. He was able to complete the pass on the inside. Mileska gave up the inside, and Schaus had a run, and he passed up on the inside lane.
Wagner still trying to get that now 2.5 groove, if you will, going. Kobe Moore and Alex Van de Son, 5-car breakaway, and then it is over 2 seconds till you get back to 6th place Dylan Moskowitz. He's got AJ Hobson, Charles Teed, Jimmy Dryden, who started on the outside of the front row in this group, Jim Brooks, David Leclerc, as well as Nick DeGroot, all in this pack from 6th back to around the 13th position. And Michael, as I'm looking at the telemetry right now, as opposed to last time when we had a second pack reeling in the lead group, this second group is actually losing ground to the top 5.
Yeah, and the way these cars, because these cars aren't racing that bad. They're racing and then they're getting single file. They're racing and then they're getting single file. This other pack here, they're single file, yeah, but they I guess they're not really close enough to make it work. Like they're more spread out than they should be, and I think that's what's causing them to lose their spots here or lose their draft.
Wagner lost a couple of spots right there. We're going to watch as he comes by, see if any contact was made between him and the outside wall. Looks like he's okay, but his car actually lost speed rather quickly, and he's going to drop back to the tail end of this pack to the 5th position as Schaus and Robert Maleska III will get side by side again going into turn 3. Look at Van de Sant going up there to that second and a half groove, if you will. And notice here how there's 3 lanes. If you look at the seams, these drivers looks like they're trying to straddle those seams. So I almost wonder if maybe there's a little bit of slickness if you end up getting your right sides on where those seams are between the grooves.
Well, me and you have both seen what the seams can do, so it's not always necessarily a good thing, as we now have a leader change.
And I just noticed that. I wonder if that's how Eric Schaus made the move earlier on Maleska to take the top spot. And I think maybe a reason why that inside line was open on both occasions is a driver maybe starting to push up in the corner, going up towards that outside wall and leaving 2-3 lanes open on the inside line.
Yeah, not too long ago, before that incident that was almost a caution happened, I was telling you, Matt Wagner was pushing up in the corners. He dove it into the inside, and his car just went straight like it had a tire down almost. So, old tires here. Look, see as he pushed up there. He pushes up, and that's going to allow Eric Schaus to make a move to the inside. The question is, will he be able to keep it?
Almost had contact between Schaus and Alex Van de Sant, as de Sant got a good run off of turn 2 as well. And look at these guys trying to very carefully side draft each other. They don't want to make contact. Oh, they may have made contact that time.
Oh yeah, they're battling real close. This is super exciting.
Now Van de Sant's got a choice to make. Which line does he push? Does he stay up top with Maleska down the backstretch or go with Schaus? Now he's going to make a 3rd lane of his own. And Maleska very aggressively pinning down Eric Schaus on the right side of his machine. And again, as we said, Schaus coming, or make that as Maleska has a 134-point advantage between himself and second in points coming in tonight. Plus, he's got a road course coming up next week. I think that's why we're seeing how aggressive he's racing right now. Almost contact again that time in the entry of the corner.
Man, that was close. Alex just came over the driver's radio, told him easy. Man, that was real close. This is got me on the edge of my seat, Seth. I don't know about you.
Well, you know, the last thing we want to see is a caution come out involving the race leaders, but every time they get close to each other, you almost think there's going to be just a little too much contact exchanged.
Yeah, and we've seen stuff like that happen before. He
gets punted! Spun around goes Eric Schaus into the infield. Grass, he keeps the thing straight, no caution.
Oh, he comes up in the traffic.
Oh, no, right back into traffic. He got the 33 of Nicholas Winook. Oh, I don't understand coming back up into the racing line like that, to be honest with you. Caution's gonna fly. Schaus had the thing gathered up. There was clearly oncoming traffic. I don't know why you would bring the race car back up into the middle of the racing surface.
I don't necessarily know if he had control of the car when it was coming back up. I'm not sure if maybe it was an equipment malfunction at some point, but I'm trying to listen over the driver's audio to see what exactly happened, but I'm not sure if that could possibly bring a penalty towards him, because that could have easily have been avoided.
Well, let's watch this here to your point about possible mechanical issues, because he gets spun down to the infield, and there's a short track here in the infield. Right there, you see the car bounce into the air from the grass to pavement transition. Again, right there. Let's see. Oh, man, it's so difficult to tell if he was able to turn that car or not, but we clearly saw it came right back up onto the racetrack and nowhere for a very fast closing in Nicholas Winook. Let's actually go on board with the 72, see if we can tell if he was in control of his race car after his spin through the infield. Just a little bit of contact there from the 91 of Robert Maleska III. Right there, spins him around. See the car jump up into the air once. It's going to jump up into the air again right here, and he is turning the race car, it looks like, and he does bring it up onto the racing surface. It looks like, at least from the onboard, that he was still in control of his race car in some way. Never really attempted, it looked like, to turn that car back to the left, so...
My question is, did it look like it was his steering wheel was just kind of slightly pointed towards the right?
Slightly. It did look slightly, but I'm still wondering, I mean, wouldn't you...
When we went on board with another driver, I noticed that down the straightaways, they were kind of turning right, so maybe he was holding it straight, because if the setup makes it to where you have to turn that little bit right just to keep it straight, perhaps that's what he was doing.
Well, even if you were doing that to keep it to turn straight, wouldn't you see the wheel turning to the left in the attempt to keep it on the apron rather than bringing it back up into technically the middle of the track?
If there was an equipment error and he was trying to do that, it wouldn't show it. So we have no idea until we hear from him at a later point what exactly happened, but that's just incredible. Like, I can't believe that this happened.
Well, the one guy that's really going to suffer from this is going to be Nicholas Winook, because he is now trapped 3 laps down, still sitting on pit road, and he'd been able to keep his car on the lead lap up to this point. Looks like Eric Schaus came down pit road and took on his fast repair, so he will still be on the lead lap. So really tough break there for Nicholas Winook, who's not had the most exuberant of seasons, but he's been 15th in points and was looking here tonight to see if he could at least capture his second top 10 of the season.
So, Seth, you want to talk to our second place in points guy during this caution?
Why not? Let's see if we can dial up Alex Van de Son. Alex, it's Michael and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I gotcha.
Well, Alex, you're having a great run here tonight, but we saw you have to do it from around the rear of the field. So how difficult has it been to pass here tonight? Because we've seen drivers try and use pretty much all 3 lanes.
Yeah, I've been enjoying this high line. Second week in a row, I've screwed up my qualifying on the second lap. So not doing myself any favors, but at least I can put on a show for you guys.
Yeah, you've had a good run from the back up to the front. Yeah, you saw how racy the 2 leaders were getting just a bit ago before that incident happened. What did you see from your perspective?
They're just running tight. Robert wants to keep it as low as possible to wear out Eric's tires, which worked. We had that moment in 3 and 4, which life flashed before my eyes. But then, it looked like Eric he wore out his rears and looped it off of 4, which is pretty easy to do. So, gonna try and not do the same thing.
All right, so Alex, we've been speculating up here. You're down there front and center knowing exactly how this track is in terms of the grip available in those lanes, and we're wondering, when is that second and third groove finally going to get rubbered in enough for you guys to get the advantage off from the center of the corner to the exit? Because we see you guys are able to gain ground on entry, but you can't seem to be able to follow it up through the center of the corner.
So the thing is, once the tires wear, is when the second line becomes a lot better. You can carry a lot more speed, less risk there, but we're going green now.
All right, we're going to let you get back to it. Good luck there, Alex, as he's going to be restarting in the second position behind Robert Mileska III. Matt Wagner will be lined up in 3rd place. Nick DeGroot now up to 4th with Kobe Moore in 5th. Dylan Moskowitz, AJ Hobson, Charles T., Jim Brooks, and Jimmy Drynan are going to complete the top 10. We do have one driver that has retired from the event. That will be Jim Herrick. He'll finish 27th. Nicholas Winook is still yet to return to the racetrack. 23 cars on the lead lap of 25 that are still running on the racing surface as the green flag back in the air with 50 laps to go.
50 to go. They're past halfway now, and it's set to be an exciting second half, I think.
Good, decent restart there again. We saw a couple of our earlier restarts with some near stack-ups. Things a little bit more spaced out now. And look at this. We talked with Van de Son. He said he's very comfortable on the top side. He's gone right back to it, trying to get a run for the race lead on Robert Mileska.
Yeah, see if that high lane's going to work here. It's very, very difficult right now, but see if you can get a good run. Like you said, it was said during the interview there, you want to try to run the inside and wear the tires out, as we do have a change for second place. That's Matt Wagner now back in the second position. And look at him going to try to take the outside lane, but it can't quite do it. See if he can cross
Whoa!
over. Whoa, boy, I thought he was going to hit the wall there.
That was a close one as he tried to make a shallow exit out of turn 4 and then drive it up to the high side on the front straightaway. And here comes the defending champ. The pole sitter is back, trying to go coast to coast here tonight at Las Vegas. That bright yellow number 1 of Nick DeGroot.
Yep, he's up here. He's got the middle lane. He's drafting. Gonna see if he can't help try to get these 3 cars to close up on the 2 race leaders if they can just race a little bit more up there.
2 yellow cars now. If you throw in the 3 of Dylan Moskowitz, trying to finish 1 position better than he did last week when he finished runner-up to his teammate Robert Maleska III at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Behind them, Covey Moore. You got 6 cars up in this lead group, and might add in some more as Charles T. AJ Hobson about to bring some more friends into the picture.
You know, that makes me wonder if iRacing will ever add a racetrack called Wild World.
Wild World.
That was your own mistake there. So you gotta now you have to own that track now. Anyways, as we see the battle for the lead shaping up here, we got who's that in second? We got our second place in points. He's still up here, but they're all chasing the points leader and race leader right now, Robert Maleska.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting if you look at it right now. You got first in points leading, second in points in second, and just now battling for third place is third in points, Matt Wagner. So they're all lined up according to where they were in points coming into tonight.
And Robert is not going to give up that lead easily. These cars are going to have to get up there, and they're going to have to take it from him.
Going to be closing in on 40 laps to go, and if my projections are correct, these drivers may not be good to make it the rest of the way on what they've got in the tank. So, barring a caution, we could end up having a green flag pit stop be the deciding factor into who wins tonight's race.
It's very, very possible. I'm just going to have to try to keep an eye out and see exactly what's going to happen.
Now, right now, he is running in the 9th position, but how about the comeback run for Benjamin Combs? We saw his car all mangled up on the back straightaway about 20 laps ago, and he's been able to fight back up inside of the top 10.
Yep, and that's good. Able to get up there, but passing's a whole nother story. It's not that easy to pass unless you can get a good run on somebody on the inside here.
Ooh, Moskowitz. Boy, he hooked that inside line really well through 1 and 2. Almost got to the left rear quarter panel of his teammate Maleska, who slammed the door on him down the back straightaway.
Yep, and that's what's going to happen. As we said before, white line is your best friend. Not only do these cars have to get off the corner, but they're going to have to dive it back to the inside just to be able to protect another car from going to the inside of them.
Now Van de Sant's going to jump to the top side on Maleska III, and we'll see these guys now 12 laps into this run, and as we were talking with Van de Sant moments ago, he said that the outside lines start to gain an advantage as the tires wear down longer into a run, and now we see a lot of drivers actually jumping up there. DeGroot, Moskowitz, they're jumping up to the outside line down the front straightaway. Look at them fanning out here. We've got about 4 different grooves being used here through 1 and 2.
Yeah, and that's what's going to have to happen. The draft itself is not strong enough to help somebody pass on the outside lane here. So they could be trying to bait Maleska to the outside and then just make a quick run to the inside when they get the run off the corner. So Maleska has just got to run right about where he's running in order to protect his race lead, and you know it's going to be difficult for these drivers to get around him.
I'm not certain about the drivers up here towards the front like Charles Teed. I don't know if he already used his faster pair after getting involved in an earlier incident or not, but I do know that at least the top 6 are yet to use a faster pair. So knowing that they have that in their hip pocket, yes, they would lose out on a lot of track position if they were involved in a wreck, but that might play a factor into how aggressive they're going to be in these final 37 laps.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to make it interesting to watch. You know, we've got 120 laps. We're only on lap 84, so there's still, like you said, about 30 laps there. Anything can happen, and we're just going to have to keep an eye on us. What we can is there's battles going on all over this racetrack.
Certainly are. Battle right now for the lead. Battle for the 4th position between Matt Wagner and Covey Moore. Behind them, you got a battle for 10th place between AJ Hobson and Jim Brooks, and that would be the last couple of cars in this lead group. Then you got to go about maybe a third of a straightaway back. That'd be translated to about a second back to Krista Nelson in the 12th position. She's got David Leclerc, Victor Santos with her. Really surprised that we really haven't seen that 24 car get up here towards the front. He seems to be a mainstay inside the top 5 every speedway we've been to this season, but Santos has yet to crack the top 10 at all this evening.
Yeah, he's been trying. He's been caught up in a bunch of different stuff, though, out there, so he's just probably trying to keep a level head as he's passing cars on the inside here.
Battle going to be for 6.
Oh, someone just hit the wall.
Is that David Leclerc in the 50, perhaps? Yes, and he's going to get hooked off the nose of Gale Brooks. Caution's going to fly. You mentioned David Leclerc getting up there into the wall. He lost speed. Nothing that Gale Brooks, it seemed, could do.
Hit the wall a second time. Hit the wall a second time, and it bounced him off the wall down into where Gale Brooks was going, and it just unavoidable right there.
And it looks like David Leclerc may be out of the race after that. Don't know if he had already utilized his fast repair prior to this or not. And this looks eerily similar to what we saw have happened earlier on tonight with the 77 of Benjamin Combs, just running a little too high up the racetrack, and that car never turned off the corner.
Yeah, it's old tires more than likely.
Gale Brooks did limp 71 machine back to pit road. David Leclerc, as we mentioned, not so lucky, so it looks like he will finish potentially in the 25th position. We'll have to wait and see if Craig Forsyth and Joe McAdory will be able to pass him or not, as pit road is going to be open this time, and no surprise, just about everybody has come down pit lane here to the attention of their crews, and this to me now, Michael, says that they should be able to make it.
They probably should, but Alex Vandersant actually got the race lead off of pit road.
Nice pit stop for him, as he was roughly about 7/8 tenths combined of a second faster with his pit stop than Robert Maleska III. Nick DeGroot, who had the number 1 pit stall, comes out third with Matt Wagner and Covey Moore. It's going to be the top 5 when we go back green. It'll be with less than 30 laps to go. So we're going to step aside for another quick commercial break, and we'll be back here for the restart at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We're going FRN side by side.
It's a road few dare to travel, a journey filled with danger and unpredictability. So why do we traverse this road? Why do we take such a gamble? Because if we don't try, we'll never know what we could have achieved. That's why we strap in, rev up, and fix our focus on the ultimate prize. Because the reward is well worth the risk. The 2021 NNSCRA Daytona 500, Saturday, February 20th, exclusively on Flat Out Racing Network.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
It's a road few dare to travel, a journey filled with danger and unpredictability. So why do we traverse this road? Why do we take such a gamble? Because if we don't try, we'll never know what we could have achieved. That's why we strap in, rev up, and fix our focus on the ultimate prize. Because the reward is well worth the risk. The 2021 NNSCRA Daytona 500, Saturday, February 20th, exclusively on Flat Out Racing Network.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our
29 laps to go here tonight at Las Vegas Motor Speedway as you're watching race 10 of season 3 of the Dark Horse IndyCar Series presented by HyperX. Seth Cole, Michael Norman, ready to bring you the finish of tonight's event. It's Alex Van de Sant leading us back to green, and Van de Sant, believe it or not, he is looking for win number 1 on the season. He's got the track position. We'll see if he can hold it.
He's got to hope that something bad happens to the points leader for him to really gain a lot of points on him. But with Robert running second place right now, he's got a lot of defending to do, just like Robert was. So he's going to have to keep his car on that bottom line and make sure that the white line is his best friend. But I guess gaining little by little. But with Robert finishing second, I don't think that Alex can gain too much on him.
Certainly wouldn't gain points, but at least would be finding victory lane, which has eluded that 317. And de Sant, 4 top 5s on the year, 2 of them runner-up finishes at least, and that was at our 2 road courses. And the guy he finished runner-up to is the guy that is currently to driver's right, but here comes Nick DeGroot. He's going to jump up to the 3rd lane, making a 3-man fight for the top position.
3-wide battle for the lead, but just can't get a good run, and now here comes somebody else behind him. I believe, who is that in 4th place right there? That's Covey Moore up here trying to get up here as well. You got a 6-car battle once again for the race lead, and all that Alex Van der Sant has to do is just guard the inside lane.
Wow, what a move there by Nick DeGroot, crossing over the nose of Covey Moore to duck to the inside of Maleska the third for second place. Maleska gets a little loose off of turn 4, is still able to hold off DeGroot for the runner-up spot, at least for the time being. And yeah, this has kind of been a mainstay here in this race with the stack-ups we've had on these restarts. 6 drivers always seems to be the number that get away from the rest of the field.
Right at the beginning, yeah, and I'm not really too sure how to explain that. I guess it just comes down to who can get on the accelerator. With no passing allowed before the start-finish line, you are stuck behind the person in front of you. So whether they get a good restart or not, there's just nothing you can do about it until after that start-finish line.
Here's that second group, 5 drivers in this mix being led by AJ Hobson. Then there's a third group behind them where you end up finding Eric Schaus, Jim Brooks, Victor Santos, and Michael Spell, who was involved in an earlier caution. Nice comeback for him as he's just now cracked back into the top 15. But yeah, I think right now, just based off what we said, if we end up having a late race yellow, you're hoping you're going to be at least in the first 6 restarting positions, because that means you have a pretty good chance you're going to be in the conversation at least for this win.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is really fun to watch. Honestly, I'm so glad that I'm here to see this. This racing right here is so on the edge and exciting, and I hope that everybody tuning in right now is about on the edge as I am right now. So look at them, still going 3 wide for the lead into turn 3.
They were alongside each other dead even before they got to the 3rd corner, but there you see the inside line prevails out of the corner. Maleska drops back to 2nd, DeGroot back to 3rd. They're both going to run the middle and outside line to turn 1 again, see if they can get that exit off the corner, or at least try and translate that into good straightaway speed as they slice and dice down the backstretch.
22 laps to go, coming to 21 laps to go this time by. These drivers know it's go time. They should be able to make it to the end on gas, and now there's just no holding back caution.
It's going to be Benjamin Combs in the 77 bringing out this yellow as he's looped it around off the exit of turn 4 and onto the front stretch.
Looks to be a little bit of contact from, I believe that is The 13 of Krista Nelson.
Watch this culminate from turn 3 over to turn 4. Combs came down close to the 13 on entry, and yeah, that's just as we know, that inside line, that right front tire heating up. Krista Nelson just not able to turn the car. It went straight and up into Benjamin Combs, and why this is important in terms of the 77, he already was involved in an incident here tonight, had to use a fast repair, and may actually be out of the race, it looks like, with this being his second incident.
Yeah, that very well might be the end of his night.
We got to remember, too, thing that we haven't touched on here tonight that actually took place this past week was iRacing updated the damage models for a number of race cars, and IndyCar was one of them. And what I've been told is that the contact you make, even a brush with the outside wall, even more so you feel the effects of it now than you used to. And that could be a big reason why we saw Benjamin Combs actually take his car back behind the wall, because, well, it did obviously look like quite a pretty good amount of impact into the outside wall off turn 4. I thought he'd at least try and ride it out, but apparently that car was going to be way off the pace, and he will be finishing in the 24th position. As a little bit of cat and mouse there at the entrance of pit road, but no takers.
No. The couple of the leaders faked coming to pit road, but like you said, no one really actually came down.
It's like a few towards the back of the pack coming down pit road, but again, as we said, all these drivers good to make it on fuel. As zooming around the outside, it's going to be the 27 of Craig Forsyth. He'll be back on the lead lap, so 22 drivers will be on the same lap as leader Alex Van de Sant. Only driver that is still on track one lap down is the 4 of Joe McAdory, who was involved in an incident much earlier on in tonight's event. If the lights go out this next time around, Michael, we're going to be getting the green flag with, I believe, 16 laps to go, maybe 17 laps to go. These guys are good to make it on fuel, but I'm wondering here for that 317 of Alex Van de Sant. He talked about how his car is so comfortable up there on the top side, but in order for him to really win this race, he's going to have to defend that inside line. And he said on the long run that car really wants to push up on that inside line. So he knows what these cars do on the long run. How does he counter that to keep the 91 in his rearview mirror?
Well, he's got to protect it off the corner. Well, if you diamond, as long as you block it, you can block it kind of going in, and your person's got to run to the outside. You can run about the middle lane, but you've got to get to the inside before the person behind you can get off the corner and get the run.
Saw Robert Mileska III throw a couple of blocks early on in this race, but if you are Van de Sant now, is this the time to start throwing those aggressive blocks, or is it still too early?
I mean, it could be a little too early. It's really hard to tell because, like we've said before, passing really isn't that easy here. So, I mean, while blocks are going to be good, if it keeps them behind you, then it keeps them behind you, and that's exactly what he wants to do.
Right now, we've got 2 former winners inside of the top 5, 4 of them inside of the top 10. So the odds are in favor of a first-time winner going to victory lane. Van de Sant, right now the race leader, Mileska III, looking for his his 4th straight victory in a row. He's looking for his 6th win on the season, which would break the record held by Nick DeGroot last year. DeGroot lines up in 3rd, the defending champ. Covey Moore has been up in the top 5 all night long. He's trying to see if he can pull off the Cinderella story, as he'll be 4th, and Dylan Moskowitz looking at least for back-to-back top 5 finishes, but also looking for his first win of the season. He'll line up in 5th with Matt Wagner, Charles Teed, AJ Hobson, Kristen Nelson, and Jimmy Drine in the top 10. Michael, the lights out atop the pace car, so we will go back green with 16 laps to go. I'm wondering, have we seen the last of caution? So far, 6 yellow flags have flown here tonight.
I'm not sure. It's really hard. It's really hard to tell. These drivers have been more kind of spread out than I actually thought they were going to be originally. So I don't necessarily think we'll see like a big wreck happen unless it's on the restart. So, but I definitely think we'll see more cautions. The question is, I just don't know exactly when in these final couple of laps.
Last couple of restarts, it's been 6 drivers that have been able to break away into the front pack. Right now, Matt Wagner runs in the 6th position with Charles Teed behind him in 7th. We'll see if it will be only 6 drivers up in the lead group again, or can 7th place on back time the restart and hang with the lead group. Pace car is about to turn them loose. Van de Sant right up there against the wall, making sure that nobody's going to be able to get a run to his driver's right. It'll give him the better entry into turn 1 as well. These drivers going to be taking this restart with 15-lap old tires, so they're not out there on brand new Firestones. They've got some wear on them, and they're going to have to figure out what these tires are going to allow them to do for these final 16 laps.
Green flag is back out. Alex gets a good jump. I believe the top 6 might have as well. I believe these cars still getting up to speed here. Seems to be just the top 3.
Right down there to that white line. Not going to give Maleska an opportunity to get to his inside.
Oh yeah, you saw the run coming, and he moved immediately to the inside. Look at him go to the outside. That could open the door for Nick DeGroot. If he can get down there, but he chooses to stay to the outside there.
Drew also thought about going to that 3rd lane, and we see a gap now between the top 3 back to Kofi Moore. Only person that knew he was making a move like that was Nick DeGroot.
I'll tell you, I thought he was going to try to go in between these two, because there was a bit of a hole there, but nope.
Bit of a gap back to Kobe Moore in the 4th position, a lot with Matt Wagner and Dylan Moskowitz. We'll see if they are going to be able to get back up here to the top 3.
See if DeGroot just refuses to go to the middle lane. You got to watch out, because Robert and Alex are leaving that middle groove open, and DeGroot's getting a heck of a run off these corners. Look at him 3 wide.
3 wide across the start-finish line. DeGroot up in that extreme outside line, loses the position on the entry, as does Maleska. And Asan continuing to hug that inside line. He doesn't mind if they get alongside him, just as long as he's the first one back to the start-finish line.
Yeah, absolutely. And the outside lane just isn't getting a good enough run as you would think it would, not until well after the start-finish line. And you can see the group still trying to stay to the inside, but I think he might have backed off there.
Might be backing up to get a tow. Either that or he's getting pulled back to Matt Wagner, who along with Kobe Moore and company have reeled these top 3 back in. Dylan Moskowitz, Charles Teed, Eric Schaus. We saw him spinning through the infield grass in the midway portion of this race. He's back up in the conversation now into the 7th spot.
He's made his way back up like he needed to. And here he is now trying to battle for a win.
Now it's going to be a question of guys like Matt Wagner and Kobe Moore. Where do they take their runs? DeGroot's been able to go up into the clean air in the 3rd groove, but not really sure they would want to test the waters of 4 abreast here into the corner. So Matt Wagner's got to figure out a line to run, and more than likely going to have a car in front of him, whichever lane he chooses.
This has got to start worrying DeGroot as well. It was just the 3 of them up there. Now he's got more behind him, more people at risk of losing more spots, so he's got to be real careful where he drives his race car as we're approaching 9 laps to go.
And Asant still on that inside line. So far, he's done a masterful job of keeping the drivers at bay behind him, taking away their inside line, forcing them the longer way around the racetrack, kind of rode the 91 up the track a little bit there on the back straightaway to get a better arc into the corner.
The side-by-side here at the racing line. It's still Alex that leads the lap. And Seth, I hope you got your photo finish camera ready.
I was just thinking of that, because that time by, while he didn't get him at the line, Maleska the 3rd made it awfully close. And yeah, even if he's not able to clear Van de Sant, all he has to do is a couple of inches, maybe even just a couple of centimeters ahead of Van de Sant when they get back to the start-finish line to win this race.
And one wrong move, and with DeGroot on the outside lane, that could take all 3 of them out.
I can't help but think back to the race we had in the season opener at California. A number of our race leaders were involved in a wreck, which ended up allowing Matt Wagner to pick up the victory. We could have a little bit of deja vu here tonight. The question is, who would be the lucky guy to be able to make it through the carnage if we do have an incident on the final lap?
I have no idea, and I'm noticing as I'm riding on board with Nick DeGroot here, DeGroot's using that 6th gear.
He is utilizing the draft gear here, more than likely to allow him to get the toe off the back of Maleska as they come down the back straightaway. Eric Schaus has now entered up there into the 4th spot. He's picked up 4 spots in the last 4 laps.
Oh boy, this is getting real close. Real close and very, very scary for these drivers out here. 5 laps to go, and no one is giving up their spots here.
Remember, when Eric Schaus wrecked, it was from the race lead. Contact between himself and Robert Maleska III, so you know it's the old adage, race how you want to be raced. You know he's going to be very aggressive here. If there's a hole open on this final lap, I guarantee you the 72 will take it.
Noticing that the middle lane's coming into play here. Maleska getting the better run off the corners now. He's inching ahead, and I think he's cleared him. He's cleared him.
He is. Wow, what a power move there by Maleska III. Clears on the straightaway. He'll go to the point, and now he's going to lead them back to the 3 to go mark.
His tires are worn out. That's what's happened. Alex has worn out his tires on the inside lane. Unfortunately, that's how it's become. As look at DeGroot now trying to battle on the outside lane. The
DeGroot
question
got
is,
a nice run out of 2.
caution.
It's going to be AJ Musselman bringing out this yellow. Late race caution here at Las Vegas as Musselman sits over in turn 2 and now has to teleport to pit road.
Went to the outside lane of somebody. He just got clipped. Went into the corner, just would not turn.
Leska taking the caution flag, and I believe that's going to do it. That pass could not have been timed any better for Robert Maleska III when he cleared Van de Sant. If it come out maybe 2 laps sooner, Van de Sant would have won this race.
Yeah, I forgot these drivers do not have green-white checkers.
Maleska III is about to make history here tonight as well. 4th straight victory and 6th win on the season. DeGroot had 5 last year in his championship season, and Maleska is about to break that. And oh yeah, by the way, we're going to a road course next week where he has gone 2 for 2 at road course configurations this season in a potential bid for 5 wins in a row.
That's utterly amazing.
Taking the white flag there is Robert Maleska III. We're going to see if we can quickly jump back and see what happened to AJ Musselman to bring out this race-ending caution before we watch the 91 cross the start-finish line to receive his 6th checkered flag on the year. And here it was. Looks like he was racing around the 7 of Gary Corley, I believe that is. Just got put up into the wall. Almost flipped over, but all 4 tires were able to stay on the racing surface. Nonetheless, though, caution flies, and for Robert Maleska III, it flew at just the right time because who knows? Nick DeGroot might have had something planned in terms of strategy to try and get around that 91 on the final lap.
I'm not sure, but we'll have to ask him and find out. Unfortunately, as we talked about, Alex wore out his tires too much, so at least he's able to round out tonight's race with the 3rd place finish.
After tonight's race, 8 races remain in the championship battle, and obviously it's still too early in the season to say it, but as we get further and further towards the end of the year, it is looking like Robert Maleska III is putting together not only a career year, but a championship year as well, as Nick DeGroot and Van de Sant will pull alongside of him. They'll be your podium finishers as 4th straight win, 6th win of the season. Robert Maleska III wins Las Vegas.
Pretty exciting, and congratulations to Robert. We talked to him last week in Victory Lane. We'll get a chance to talk to him once again tonight.
Robert Maleska III, 4 straight victories this season. 6 total wins on the year, and about to do something he's become very familiar with, and that is doing burnouts. Tonight it will be in Las Vegas, as he'll pull down here in front of these Las Vegas, Nevada fans and begin to celebrate at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And we'll show you now your full finishing results from tonight's event. Michael gave you your top three. Fourth place is going to be Eric Schaus. That's a great comeback run for Eric after his spin from the race lead around the midway point of this race. And Covey Moore, to me, seems to be the kind of the dark horse driver this season because he struggled at the beginning of the year, but he has had good finish after good finish in the last 6 weeks or so.
Absolutely. An incredible run for him and that team. And like I said, Seth, it's been an incredible night here at Las Vegas.
Definitely has. Matt Wagner is going to get 6th, 7th for Charles T. That was a comeback run for him after getting involved in the first caution of the night. Dylan Moskowitz, AJ Hobson, and Jim Brooks. They are going to complete your top 10. And as we look through the rest of the finishing results, a couple of heartbreaks down towards the bottom of the running order, including 12 of Josh Garner. He ended up getting into the wall while running up inside of the top 10. And Nicholas Winook, as we already documented, got involved in a wreck that wasn't of his making on the front straightaway after Eric Schaus got spun. He finished out of the race along with Benjamin Combs, David Leclerc, Jim Herrick, and Eric Peterson did not take the green flag tonight. He will finish tonight's race in the 28th position.
What do you say, Seth? Let's talk to our third place finisher.
Hey, Alex, it's Michael and Seth up here in the FRM booth again. You got us?
I gotcha.
Man, you talked to us tonight about drivers on that inside line. The longer the run went on, that right front heating up and it getting tight. Was that what caused you to lose the lead there out of turn 2?
Yep, that was. I just had nothing left in the right front. I was having to just starting to have to lift at the end of that run there, and Nick was not making it easy on Robert to give me some space either. So, man, that was nerve wracking, but well done to them. It just worked out in their favor.
Yeah, it was an incredible run. You had a good lead. We were talking up here about what it would take those final 20 laps on the restart, and just how aggressive you would have had to have been on blocking. And just from your perspective, being the race leader, how difficult is it to keep the race lead?
It's tough. I mean, when you have the tires at the start of a run, it's not a problem holding that bottom line. But after 5 laps and then later after 15 and 20 laps, that's when it gets, you don't know if it's really going to stick to the bottom or if you're going to get just a little bit of dirty air, or if you catch like some lap traffic, that's going to completely screw you up. So it's just about holding that line, driving with your mirror, really, which normally you don't want to do, but you kind of have to at races like this.
Yeah, Alex, I got to ask you, we've seen you a number of times this season trying to one-up that 91 machine, more so at the road courses, it seems. We go to Watkins Glen next week. We've seen the great battles that you and Maleska have had at the road courses the last 2 times out. Going to a track a lot of drivers are familiar at in Watkins Glen, what's your thought process there?
Yeah, so all 4 league races I've done at Watkins Glen on this classic layout, I've won. So I know how to race it. I'm really excited for it. Last season I got the win there, but I punted my teammate Craig to get there. So hopefully I can get it more cleanly this time. But yeah, feeling really confident going there.
Well, Alex, congrats on a great performance here tonight. P3 at Las Vegas. We're now going to give you the opportunity for some thank yous, some sponsors, and shout-outs.
Big thank you to lmcgear.com, as always, and my teammates, Krista, Craig, and Jim. And then, as well as Happy Trails Chili Company, now available on Amazon, so definitely search that up.
Alex Van Desant, P3 here tonight, podium finish at Las Vegas. Once again, congratulations on a great run there, Alex, and we look forward to seeing that battle next week at Watkins Glen.
Thanks, guys.
All right, let's see if we can now get our runner-up finisher, the defending champion Nick DeGroot. Hey Nick, it's Michael and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Hey guys, how are you tonight?
Yeah, we're doing great, but that was a heck of a battle there at the end. 3 drivers, 3 different lanes. You elected to go high, wide, and handsome through those corners. If you'd had it go green to the end, did you have a strategy to get around that 91 for the win?
It basically same strategy he had on Alex, just try to pin him down. And I will say Rob had some fresher tires than Alex because of the line he was running that whole run, so it would have been harder, but I guarantee you that was going to end in a photo finish. I can't say one way or other if it was going to be me or him, but I liked the position I was in, having that high side. But man, that was a fun race either way. Just running 3 wide nonstop, that final run was just ridiculous.
Yeah, it was fun to watch you leading the race at the start, and then you came in for tires in your first pit stop. So I'm curious what was on your mind there. Were you just trying to see just how wore out your tires get in that first run when you came down pit road?
Well, if I'm being completely honest, I expected a few more people to come with me. So I probably, in hindsight, wouldn't have done that if I'd known it would have put me back outside the top 10 or whatever for that restart. But yeah, I knew that tires were going to be worth something, especially if we ended up getting a real long run, because these cars get real loose at the end of a run here. But we never really got that. And yeah, it gave me an advantage. I was able to pass a bunch of people, but never quite got that lead back. So it's a little annoying, but hey, you live, you learn.
You know, Nick, we talked about last season, your championship run with 5 trips to victory lane. That's been broken here tonight with Maleska getting his 6th win of the season. But coming into this race, you were 158 points behind the 91 car. We still got 8 races left in the season. So what's the mentality now as the defending champ? Do you think you still have a shot to get up there, make this a championship battle when you guys get to the season finale in the Indy 500? Or are you just going out there aggressively now to try and see if you can find more trips to victory lane?
Yeah, I think with the gap there is now, besides focusing on the team championship, what we need to do is we need to go for wins. And the only way we're really going to make up that margin is if we're winning races and some misfortune were to befall Rob. But he's pretty good at keeping his nose clean. But yeah, I've gone from the position of we need to just get points to we need to start getting wins. We got 1 win this season. We want to get more. Like you said, last year we got 5. Want to get a few more wins before this season. Want to go for victory. So that's going to be kind of our mindset in this last few races.
All right, well, we're looking forward to it. Nick, we're going to give you the opportunity now for some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Yeah, Factory Back Motorsports, double top 5 tonight. Hope the boys that got cowboy shit like that. Motorsport.com, Motorsport TV, and all of our other backers. We got Buck Kicker on the car, I believe. And yeah, just glad we could put on a show for him tonight.
That's Nick DeGroot, runner-up here tonight at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, as he's going to pick up yet another top 5 here this season. Good luck next week at Watkins Glen. Congrats on the job well done here tonight.
Thanks, guys. Can't wait.
And let's go down to victory lane, and let's talk with our 6-time winner, Robert Maleska III. Hey, Robert, it's Michael and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I got you, boys.
Man, you have been on fire here this season, and the stats just prove it. 4th straight trip to victory lane, 6 wins on the season. It's looking like if anybody's going to be able to mount a charge for this championship, they're going to have to go through you, and this team has been really consistent.
Yeah, that was a battle at the end there. I know, if I make one mistake in these upcoming races, I know Alex and Nick, they're going to be, they're always up there fighting for the wins. So one mistake, that's going to cost me, probably 20, 30 points at least. So, got to keep firing on all cylinders while I can here.
Yeah, you had lost the lead in that later half when you lost it off pit road there, but you were able to get it back later on in the race right there. You made it just at the right time as that caution came out, not too long after you took the lead, man. Just what was going through your head right after you took the lead and then seeing that caution come out?
I was very happy about that because I knew Nick got to my outside because if you're on the outside of the car on the bottom lane, you were gonna get him. So if he had another lap or so, I really believe he would have had me. Maybe not fully cleared me, but definitely across the line, photo finish style, he would have had the nose.
Robert, we talked about the fact that 2 of your wins this season have come at the road courses. We're going to another road course next week at Watkins Glen, so we certainly expect for you to be a contender for that victory. But, looking at some of these other races on the schedule coming up, like Kentucky, Milwaukee, Homestead, Miami, are there any tracks that you're looking at going in with a little bit of hesitation, not certain if it's a track that might be an Achilles heel, or is the confidence level so high that it doesn't really matter what track we're going to?
I think I feel good at all the tracks coming up except Milwaukee, like you said. I'm just not good at those, mile flat ovals at all. I don't have like a ton of experience there. Like in Indy Fixed, I made sure to skip Milwaukee because I'm not a big fan of that track. So I think for Milwaukee, if I can get a top 10, that will be a win for me, just because of my inexperience there and I just don't like those type of tracks.
I don't know if you know it there, Robert, but not only did you get your 4th win in a row here tonight, but you also broke the single season record of wins in a season with 6 here tonight. So congratulations on that. We can't call it a dominating performance here tonight. You certainly had to earn it, but right place, right time to be able to pick up that checkered flag. So congratulations on that. We're now going to give the opportunity for some victory thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Yeah, really, I thought we made some changes to the setup and to the track for this race, and I think overall, I think the race was very good throughout the field. It sounded like so. Hopefully, we can get much cleaner races going on here throughout the field, and I think the next few races are going to be really good.
That's Robert Mileska III, 6 wins this season as he takes the checkered flag here tonight at Las Vegas. Congratulations there, Robert. Go and enjoy this victory, and we look forward to seeing if maybe you can make it 5 in a row next week at Watkins Glen.
Yep, thanks, boys.
And so as tonight's broadcast comes to a close, Michael, closing remarks from the pack racing that we saw here tonight under the lights at Las Vegas.
Oh, it was interesting to say the least. It was very fun to watch, 3-4 wide sometimes. As soon as these tires started to wear out, we saw the pack racing kind of thin out a little bit, but in the end, it came down to wearing out somebody else's tires to be able to pass them to get the win here tonight. So I was really hoping we'd be able to at least see those last couple laps run under green, but hey, it was still a fun and exciting race nonetheless.
Now, next week, as we mentioned, we go to upstate New York for our 3rd road course stop of the season. We started out at the road course of Road America. Most drivers are familiar with that. Then we went to Circuit of the Americas. Some drivers familiar, some drivers were actually out there for the first time in an IndyCar, but I don't think there's a driver out there that hasn't run Watkins Glen in some way, shape, or form. So does that mean that the competition ramps up for someone to pick up the checkered flag in next week's road course race?
Oh, it's very possible. I haven't seen much of it yet, or I haven't seen much racing at Watkins Glen, so it'll be all new to me to be able to see and watch if I'm here next week. But so it'll be it'll be interesting to watch. So I can't tell yet, but my prediction is it's going to be awesome.
Definitely will be. I think as well, most road courses, you don't end up seeing cautions, full course yellows come out, and Watkins Glen always seems to be one of those tracks where the fuel strategy is going to come into play. So we may end up seeing somebody be able to snipe a victory just on fuel strategy alone. But we'll have to wait until then as Robert Mileska continues to celebrate here tonight at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, his 6th victory on the season. Michael's been a great one here tonight at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Appreciate you joining me in the booth for it.
No problem. It was fun being up here, and given the circumstances and everything else surrounding tonight, it was so much fun to watch, and I can't wait for next time.
Absolutely. Thanks to everybody that tuned in here tonight as well. We hope you guys enjoyed our coverage of Race 10 of Season 3 of the Dark Horse IndyCar Series presented by HyperX. Next week, we're going to be bringing you the Watkins Glen International Raceway event, race number 11. Green flag will be scheduled to fly at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For Michael Norman, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flat Out Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flat Out Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flat Out Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flat Out Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.